welcome back to Block TV. It is that time of the week. It's time for Blockchain on Booze, my favorite segment, where we gather the wheelers and dealers of the sphere, get them to answer questions while trying to keep sober. Joining us today, of course, the one and only Rena Thomas, Chief Development Officer at Vegan Nation, the recently also launched coin. Hello to you.
Hi, pleasure to be back
Lovely
here.
to have you. Rob Viglioine, wait, am I mispronouncing it?
I think so. No, I think it's fine.
Rob Viglioine, hold on, let me introduce co-founder and CEO at Horizen, visiting and a recent victim. Hello.
Hey. Victim of what? Feminism?
Victim of Blockchain and Booze. We're getting there. Okay. And of course, we can't do this with Adva Jaguar. Gal, head of Jaguar Lawyers, ladies and gentlemen, actually ladies and gentlemen, lovely to have you. Once again, we got a ratio of 2 to 1, never happens. More females than males, but we're going to start straight with the main issue. Who thinks KYC is unnecessary? Now, according to CCN.com, and also news that we've known for the past week, Bitcoin played a role in staging the Easter Sunday suicide bombings in Sri Lanka that killed, this was one of the most horrific attacks in the last several weeks, killed 253 civilians. Now, we already know ISIS took responsibility for this attack. And according to an Israeli blockchain intelligence firm, Whitestream, the agency revealed that ISIS, used Canada-based payment gateway coin payments to convert Bitcoins to fiat money. The firm identified large-scale transactions between the wallet that ISIS used to raise contributions and Bitcoin accounts held by coin payment. All of these movements were done shortly before these horrific attacks on Easter in Sri Lanka. Now, asking you guys, because this is also coming on the heels of the same company making headway and reports about Hamas moving their funds via Bitcoin. That's been in the headlines many, many times. I know that bad elements will always find a place in the market, but how detrimental is this? I mean, it's connected to Sri Lanka attacks, they were all in the news. How detrimental is it to the sphere? It is considered funny money. It is considered money that is used or a way to funnel money for bad elements. What does this do for progress? What does it do for Bitcoin? What do you think?
I don't think it's detrimental to crypto in general, because if you look at all the worst industries in the world and who finances them, it's usually banks and central governments. Look, I mean, I'm talking about in terms of damage to the planet. And so and terror financing, drug financing, there's a reason why there's so much anti-money laundering regulation when it comes to large financial institutions, because they do finance some of the worst terror attacks and
Look, I don't disagree with you, Rena, but the thing is that people within the sphere would agree with you, but the greater public. Okay,
I think
to them, the banks
crypto
are
is
not
held to a different standard than the old school financial system, and I think it's unfair. It's like when Trump everything is excused by him, but if Obama did it, everybody would go crazy. So it's the same kind of thing here, where when crypto finances it's a double standard, and I don't like it. And also, it's not detrimental. People are going to still use it. We're just going to have better KYC infrastructure put in place. We're going to have stricter regulation, but this is not detrimental. This is just a cue to how powerful crypto is becoming and how everyone wants to use it because of the ease of transferring of funds and assets.
But let me ask you this, and actually this is to the rest of the panel. Rob, you're nodding your head in that respect. I'm wondering though, until we get better KYC, until we get regulations in place, because those do not exist right now, okay, in many ways.
I respectfully disagree, but I'll be
okay.
happy to talk to it.
No, completely. Until we do, what happens until then? Because right now it's attached to that narrative, whomever wants to pick that up. Respectfully disagree, but disagree.
Respectfully,
yeah.
I mean, I'll throw another perspective up there.
Please, go ahead.
Comment, but
don't be scared.
I think it's horrible. Obviously, it's absolutely horrible what happened, and I don't think anyone in this industry wants to see nefarious actors, particularly terrorists, using our technology. So for sure, we don't want that. In the perfect world, it would just be excluded, but we don't live in the perfect world. We can't just, blacklist people that might want to do harm to others as much as we may want to. So what I highly advise is that we look at the proportionality here. So I agree, probably the correlation or the causation goes in the direction of the technology is becoming more ubiquitous and easier to use, and therefore we're seeing people use it, but so are cell phones. Now, and that's not to discount the horror that,
Yes,
that we
that-
saw. 'cause-
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
also not discounting
Of
the
course.
horror by
Of course.
any
Exactly.
way. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, when it comes to KYC, I don't have all of the answers. I'm not a lawyer, so we'll hear that perspective in a second.
I might have.
But in terms of large money transfers, if you want to bridge the crypto world to the fiat world, you typically always go through an exchange. And of course, these terrorists, used a less formal type of exchange. But still, cash has the Hawala networks, for instance, which are probably less traceable. In fact, using Bitcoin, we know so quickly that they use Bitcoin because they use Bitcoin.
That's the thing. That's another thing
So-
that raises the issue. But we'll touch on that in a second. That's a brilliant point, Rob, because at the end of the day, the whole idea was this is, it's transparent, but it's also very private. The thing is, every time elements such as Hamas or ISIS use Bitcoin, in the Mueller report, as we saw, by the way, guys, it's traced immediately to the source.
Faster than
Exactly.
fiat
Faster than
currency.
fiat currency.
So
Yeah.
As said, respectfully.
again, the double standard here is
Yeah.
stark.
Yeah. Well,
I think
yeah.
KYC is crucial. It's crucial nowadays because the blockchain, compared to what is common to think, is not anonymous. In a blockchain, you can see every transaction, every wallet, everything. There's a difficulty to statistically or non-statistically connect that the wallet to the actual persons or companies or firms or organizations behind it. However, once you can find out via either Whitestream or blockchain analysis or whatever other companies, then we bridge that gap. And trust
Every intelligence corporation will be able to do that
Yeah,
two-step connection.
I'm telling you, it's
Exactly.
like Bitcoin.
Exactly.
And
It's like
trust
Bitcoin
needs
was
to be
created
built.
by that. I mean, it's like
Sorry.
Bitcoin was created by the intelligence agencies because it's the perfect intel tool. Right?
Exactly.
And that's probably why you don't see intel agencies trying to crush it.
Interesting.
So-
Okay, well, wait, yeah, continue.
And I think that trust in every system, in every sector, in everything in life, trust needs to be built. And trust in the cryptocurrency on a blockchain arena and area needs to be built. So even if that costs us major KYC policies and AML, anti-money laundering policies, and all the things that we take as tiresome and putting difficulties and cumbersome and requiring our services like lawyers and CPAs to perform those for you, sorry guys, but still, this is until that industry requires and acquires the trust. Once it is as trusted as cash as well, and I'm not sure cash is as trusted as should be.
I was about to say.
Exactly. So once that industry mature enough.
Isn't it a double-edged sword, though? How do you get to that level of trust if you need to have all these stops in place that make you, and I'm simplifying this right now, that make you similar to that old institution that everybody was trying to avoid?
Right.
See what I mean?
So I think first, KYC is incredibly important, and we see more and more blockchain-based KYC providers who want to really concretize identity and make it immutable and
trusted.
and trustworthy. Yes. And I think that the Bitcoin community, again, because a crypto is just as good as the community behind it, backing it and maintaining it, I'd like to see the Bitcoin community have a vote on, whenever we see terror financing happening within the Bitcoin community, we excommunicate those Bitcoins and we will not transact with it and we will blacklist it. It's up to the community
I agree
to
with you, but
hold up the standard. And so where is the Bitcoin community? Where is the
Where
rallying
is the community of the world when it comes to terror and fiat? That's what I mean, Rob, you haven't
Because
been here, but as I
fiat
always
is
say,
not
what I love
based on
about
a
Rena, she's very,
community.
very, very, very optimistic and has faith in mankind.
I choose to be
I'm a lawyer, I
optimistic
can't.
and I
can't.
choose
Me too.
to
No, I
have
I
faith
love
in
it.
mankind. Because if not, I should just commit suicide today. Because honestly, the world is in a devastating state.
Okay,
so
ladies and gentlemen, hold on. Raise your glasses for a second. It's not a demonstration. Yeah, okay. Please, first of all, we
Cheers.
haven't
To
done that at the beginning.
optimism.
To optimism. Yeah, exactly.
But I'm wondering with you again. Drink up. I'm wondering with you though, apropos putting all these stops in place, making it this type of, again, institutionalized machine that has all the stops in place that the old school has. What have we done in that then, Rob?
Right. No, I'm very skeptical of that because really we are creating something new here. And we're creating something new because we're dissatisfied with what exists. So I really don't want to replicate what exists. Yes. But still, I do recognize that we live in a world that is maybe not my ideal. So I'm a big believer in trying to work with the old world so that we can create a better one.
Okay.
So I think that KYC is not necessarily an idea of the old world. It's just a basic truth that we'd like to validate the people we're interacting with. And today in this digital world, it's quite difficult. And so blockchain can bring actually very innovative solutions to KYC so it doesn't look like the old world. I worked for JP Morgan. I saw the onboarding process for high net worth individuals. It's a pain in the butt. And so, you know, with blockchain, I hope to see more innovative solutions coming to establishing people's identities.
Bear in mind that the whole economy of blockchain is called a trustless economy. Meaning you don't have to trust. However, with the KYC, as I support that, we again need to trust. So I think that the transition or the bridge between the words or the trust or no trust or with trust is the KYC.
Right, and KYC is not, all I'm saying is KYC is not necessarily an idea of the old Wall Street world. Yeah. It's just a very basic idea of let's establish an identity. The fact that you could see transactions in a public ledger doesn't make everything verifiable. So there's another level of verification that can happen in a very transparent, trustworthy, yet anonymous manner, which is what blockchain is. It's this paradox of anonymity, but transparency, privacy, but everybody sees everything. And so there will be a lot of interesting ways to tackle some of humanity's most existential crises.
Amen to that. But I mean, speaking of trust, because actually, and again, I'm not here, well, I am here to pour cold shower on you. But, you know, speaking of trust, let's move to the next, one of my favorite themes here is Facebook coin, the world's #1 altcoin in the making. Lots of news over the course of the last week. Social media giant Facebook is seeking investment worth $1 billion for its rumored cryptocurrency stablecoin, the Wall Street Journal reported. So, of course, we have to believe this, but of course, it is true. We've known it. It seems, though, to be gaining steam, citing people familiar with the plans. The publication revealed Facebook was currently talking to major payment networks, major payment networks when it comes to, pardon me.
MasterCard and Visa.
Exactly, to MasterCard and Visa. And not only that, they're gaining track in terms of getting to it. All that said, I have several questions to you guys, okay? This is a quote from within the Facebook story. Facebook is talking, as you mentioned, to e-commerce companies and apps about accepting the coin, would seek small financial investments from those partners, one of the people said. All of this via the Wall Street Journal. On the flip side, here's what I want to ask you guys. The news sparked some criticism and the likes of the following article on CCN. You can find the following headline, which I really think people can connect to. Here's the headline. Only an idiot would use Facebook's shady cryptocurrency. Yes. Posing valid questions, let me just summarize one. Does anyone still trust Facebook?
No, no, that's what I'm saying. Don't give Facebook another $1 billion.
But you don't need to trust it. We don't, but you don't need to.
But wait, it gets worse. Wait, Jag. When I'm talking about trust in Facebook, it's the story of Cambridge Analytica. And above all, this week, Facebook announced the bans of several individuals, including Alex Jones, Louis Farrakhan, Milo Yiannopoulos, I'm sure you all of them rabid, racist, okay? Representatives from the company explained that those they banned violated the platform's policy on hate speech and promoting violence. Apropos community, by the way, Rena. While that reasoning may hold, it sets a dangerous precedent for future action. Where do you draw the line on who you ban? If you become this centralized power that also monetizes and has a coin, let's call it the Zuckbuck, as we tend to call it here, okay? But it also has the ability to ban you or freeze, I sound like a bank right now, or freeze your assets, then, and we all know that if Facebook tokenizes, it's probably going to be a huge use case.
You sound like a regulator.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm swearing, if I'm...
No, go for it, please. Okay.
But, well, if we require trust and we need a regulator, we're just replacing one regulator or one country, one regime with another, be it Facebook or whatever other firm. Take XRP, take Ripple, which is one company controlling its own coin, the XRP. And when that company decides to shut off or close their gates or take everybody's money away, It might be
do
able
so.
to, yeah, it could do so.
Welcome
so
to
you need,
capitalism,
so
you know.
again,
Okay.
we go back to trusting. Would we trust Facebook? Many people don't. And then if you use a coin of a company that you don't trust and you assume that once it makes sense to them financially, they might take everybody's coins to themselves, you're not going to be using it. However, maybe if you decide not to use it and you're not going to be using that social platform, you'd be using a lot of values that you could use, and I'm talking to you as well regarding our previous discussion about Facebook and social networks. You're losing the abilities to work via Facebook and to broadcast whatever you do, get either clients, get people, get friends, and socially and
No, and
business-wise
they've
as
already
well.
got a lot of centralized power on social media platform with both WhatsApp, with
They have
Instagram,
way too much
with
power.
Yeah.
They have way too much power. And let me just say this. I got into a lot of heat at the BlockChance conference in Hamburg because this blockchain company started their pitch by saying, Facebook and Google banned Alex Jones. We believe he should have a platform, a free platform for everyone, where no one gets banned. And then they went on
I just
and
have
on.
to remind our viewers that Alex Jones, famously of InfoWars, is the man who believed that the Sandy Hook massacre was staged, in which about 24
Yes.
children were killed in the United States
And that
in 2012.
Starbucks puts semen in people's coffee, and that Obama is a secret Al Qaeda.
Right. We also never landed on the
missionary.
moon, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay, we
well,
got that.
that's
Yeah.
different.
Everybody
yeah.
has the right to be an
Not
believe
idiot.
that
landing on
too.
the moon
Okay.
is more complex than the falsehoods that
I mean,
Alex
you can't pick,
Jones.
okay, I won't believe this, but I believe that. But okay.
No, it's
Okay.
just more complex.
They believe
It's
that
not
Alex
so-
Jones needed a platform, or
Yes.
should, or
You should have.
should
But
be should
you
have access
asked
to.
where
it.
Or that
should
maybe
we
everyone
draw
has the right to
lines?
perform as an idiot.
That's actually very fascinating. Nazis too. No, I'm asking.
Are Nazis too allowed on the
No,
platform?
yeah, should Nazis have?
They
like,
should be banned from the platform, and let me explain why. Because social platforms they have a lot of power, and they have power to disseminate
Sharing.
false information. And we have gotten to a place where we're regressing 5,000 years back to when people did not know what was happening around the world, what was true, what was false. We're getting to that stage again where there are so many falsehoods and people are not exercising their critical thinking, that they are believing all
It's called
these
the post-truth era.
the post-truth era. And in this post-truth era, we have to be the fighters for truth. And when someone clearly goes out on their platform and spews hateful, polarizing, and false information, the community needs to get together and ban them. Now, Facebook has way too much power. They're way too centralized. There's too much darkness happening behind the scenes on the Facebook algorithms. But what if a public blockchain company that is a social networking company has a vote, where every bad actor, they get a vote. Are they going to be kicked off the platform or not? And the community votes on, does this person have the right to stay on
stay
this
on.
platform? The
I'm
right
wondering with
to
you. I wonder if this will work.
distribute
If Facebook were
this
democratized in that way.
content.
But Rob, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, no, I mean, so very interesting, but we have to really think carefully about voting mechanisms
Yep,
for
we
that,
do.
because the crowd could be wrong just as easily as an individual could be wrong, maybe easier. I don't know.
No,
But-
and it's
you
very,
know.
very true, because we're sitting and recording this in the Middle
Right.
East. People would argue that when you give a mass population the right to vote, they vote in Hamas,
Right,
which is what happened.
right.
And
No, that's not
No,
a
wait,
fair
Rob,
comparison.
I'm
That's
not-
a
I'm not
fair
comparing, I'm saying,
comparison.
one
Not
can-
the majority voted Hamas. The vote, and right now when people got up and rebelled against Hamas and they shot them down,
yeah, but we're bringing it
not
back to Rob.
everybody
All right.
supports
So
Come
back
on.
to Facebook. I know
Yeah.
this is
to
maybe
Facebook.
afterwards we have more drinks, so then continue.
Yeah.
that.
I wish, yeah.
Because I'd like
Yes.
to learn more actually, but I think we've seen peak Facebook. I think
Me too.
they're going to probably
They still have 3 billion.
they're still going to make
almost
money.
still.
No,
They
for
will
sure,
crash.
For sure. I still argue we've seen peak Facebook, so they'll keep making money, but their trajectory of making money is declining. The big thing is they're working against the trend for what people want. So
Explain.
it's-
And that'll
Interesting.
change.
so
Yeah.
decentralization seems to be a trend, right, relative to centralization. Ownership of data versus exploiting people's data seems to be a trend. I think it's a trend contrary to their fundamental business model, and they refuse to change it. So if I were them, I wouldn't necessarily be looking at making a coin and having that, some transaction mechanism on your platform. I would be looking at how do we explore a better revenue model that actually empowers individuals to own their data and make money on it. Instead, they're going to be the dinosaurs in the room because they're working against the trend that as soon as people realize, and here's the thing though, is people don't realize how valuable their data is. And maybe their data 10 years ago wasn't valuable. It really wasn't.
Now
it wasn't as valuable.
Yeah.
Now it's starting to become valuable. Maybe we've crossed the tipping point, maybe not even yet. Maybe we're approaching it, but we will cross a tipping point where individual data is so obviously valuable that people are not going to accept firms exploiting it without giving them some of that economic
You
reward.
really think that you
You
don't
know
think
how
that privacy-
valuable
Well, no,
their
it's fascinating.
data
I want to
is?
ask Rob something. You don't think that we have raised or we are part of a generation that has given up on privacy?
No.
We have. No. We
I
have.
think-
So far
yeah.
we have, but they'll
largely
still
so,
change.
and people's
Yeah.
preferences.
People
and
value that.
I'll say I'm guilty of
Yeah.
this as well. I still use Gmail. I use Amazon, right? Because they make my lives better. My life
But
better
I
in
have
so many
not
ways.
given up on a
Right.
better future that will
Exactly,
not
exactly.
have Google and Facebook.
Yes.
Yes, I use those
Agreed.
platforms, but every time I puke a little in my mouth and I want to see them go away. And so, yes, I'm using it. Yes, and by the way, about Facebook. So Facebook, when you delete your account on Facebook, they tell you if you don't log back in after a year, your data is deleted. Now, I was off of Facebook for 2 years and I came back and all my photos were still there. And I don't have time to go and sue them. But I would.
I do.
That is
Yeah.
go sue
There's a
them.
lawyer right here.
No, they've
It is a
violated our
clear
trust time and again.
violation
Absolutely.
of trust,
Absolutely.
of contract,
And yet nearly
of
3
privacy.
billion people
I want
are
to go
still
back.
on
I want to go
Facebook.
back to
Right.
banning or
Please,
not
yeah,
banning
banning or
very
ban- yeah,
negative
yeah.
messages and fake news and falsehoods.
Yes.
It's you can control them better if you don't ban them. However, as a regulator or semi-regulator, as Facebook, or Gmail or whoever, they can do that, and they've done that. They can classify that as satire or jokes or a limited content or
Right.
questionable content.
Or
and
freedom of
this way-
speech.
or
They
whatever,
have
no, or whatever.
immense
You can use
lobbying
it and,
power.
or you can use that and embrace that so-called. However, you control it much better when you tell every Facebook user that this is a joke or that man is an idiot. Sorry for saying that, but you control it much better other than banning, because if you ban that, those bad people will go somewhere else, more alternative, more anarchist, whatever, and they'll spread the news where there's no control. So you lose control of the
I
people
heard that
you ban.
argument also about Alex Jones, that if you ban him from Facebook, you cannot combat his ideas and influence
Because
the
you can
community
just
to
tag
think
him
differently.
you can just tag him as either
But I
satire or
disagree,
wrong.
because in
Like
the
you do
day
with
of
cigarettes.
technology, with one word, and if you accumulate enough followers, you can lead to mass misinformation that cannot necessarily be combated. And so he needs to be eliminated. There's no other competitive platform for anarchists that is the
Do
same
you think the
magnitude as
blockchain can combat that?
Facebook.
Apropos, hold on. Apropos misinformation, something we touched on a week ago on unfaking the news, so to speak. You know, if there's a way of tracing back sources, I'm asking. I don't think it's doable, actually.
There's even a worse
why isn't Facebook? Why aren't platform using that? Apropos blockchain for that.
But what if you could have taken those whatever bad people, falsehood spreaders or Nazis or whatever, those kind of people, and Facebook would have tagged. I'm not a consultant to Facebook. Unfortunately, they're not paying me to do that. I wish they would.
get some Facebook coin.
and you tag
The Zuck buck could be yours.
And what if as well, everybody who follows them, you give them a small tag as well as a follower of those whatever bad news, bad people, whatever. You just put them not as on a blacklist, but you just mark them for everyone else. Would they still want to be followers? I don't know. I'm just wondering.
I have
It's
a sort
amazing.
of a different a thought
don't
I'll throw
pay
out
me.
there.
It's,
okay?
yeah, it's a creepy suggestion.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
So the thought is, some people, and maybe many people, like living in a curated environment where they want to feel safe, they want to feel protected and all that. And for many of these people, a curated environment like Facebook, they may be okay with censorship if they think that it removes nefarious elements from that platform. Other people want a completely uncensored environment. And I actually believe in a future where we have a large variety. Platforms for everyone, where you have platforms for people that want safe, secure, curated environment, and then platforms for us, where we're like, we want,
and
more
all of
Wild
those you
Wild
see,
West,
think in
right?
code.
Don't censor it, just
Right.
tag it. Give it like a black point or black.
Yeah,
Speaking
and
of
that
what
as
you
well.
think will happen in the
better.
future, I will give my prediction for the future is you will see data companies not being able to grow to such large magnitudes, and we will see more community-based social networking, like what Veganation is doing with their community. We know there's 300 million vegans around the world that want to talk to each other. Why should we have groups on Facebook? Let's create our own social network and connect all the vegans around the world. And so it's a vegan-based social network. You will see a gay-based social network, a Jewish social network, a Christian,
Wasn't that
and a Muslim.
J-based?
And we're gonna see everything go
Expose
back
your age.
to
Expose your age. Beware.
smaller and more local and more community-centric.
Okay. No, amen to that. Amen to that. We're moving along.
Amen.
We're moving along.
seriously,
Yeah, here's to the Seven Kingdoms. I think Jag is out of whiskey, Benny. Thank you.
I'm in trouble.
You're good? She's in trouble. No, Benny, come on. Benny, the blockchain bartender, by the way, is the actual boss of the show. I don't know if you know.
Awesome too.
And moving along, we got two more to go through. National adoption, ladies and gentlemen, because we keep thinking and racking our brains here. How do we get to mass adoption? How do we get to a place where it's not actually Facebook that spreads the word with a coin? Or of the blockchain technology, slightly different. So national adoption, here's a case study for you. Your education recorded on the block. Per
Love
Bitcoinist, Singapore has been one of the most positive nations when embracing Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and blockchain technology. The Central Bank of Singapore developed a blockchain-based settlement system for tokenized assets. Its sovereign wealth fund is a major investor in US-based exchange, Coinbase. But the latest initiative is the first blockchain-based project rolled out on a national level, guys. You're smiling.
Love
a lot.
it.
I
I
know.
love it.
But I have to say, you'll never be
Love
able to
it.
fake your education.
I have to warn you about
Wait,
this.
students at high school level and above in Singapore will from this year receive a digital certificate upon graduation. The initiative uses blockchain technology to enable an easy and reliable way to prove qualifications through tamper-free certification. The first thing that came to my mind, guys, and because a lot of us, and we live in the Western world and are related to American stories, is exactly that horrific story in the States right now about parents trying to buy their children's education.
Yes.
Pay the consultants, pay the colleges.
but
they
they-
donate colleges for years. There's nothing new about
No,
it.
I know, there's nothing new. There's somebody finally snitched.
Exactly. They just did it more bluntly. They just lost shame.
They lost shame, and it's
That's
a
it.
terrifying thing. But I'm wondering with you, having this approach to issuing, first of all, on a national level, do we think this is the right thing to do?
This is absolutely the right thing to do, and I think we will see Singapore be the first country to actually hold voting on the blockchain, and that's why I was so excited about it, because I think that with hacking voting machines and
Pregnant Chads, voting in Florida.
the threat of Russian and bad actors' interference in democratic elections is serious. And voting on the blockchain is an amazing, most significant use case for the blockchain to this day. And I think we will see Singapore become the first country to hold voting on the blockchain. And that is the first hint of that. And that's why it makes me so
On
happy.
the national level, rolling
I
out
must
this.
tell you guys, since I consult companies regarding their regulations called GDPR, the European regulations of holding databases, I have to reveal to you
Please.
that a teacher, a person taking students' records off from one school to another was fined personally, not just the school, was fined personally upon a complaint. Companies, firms, corporates are being fined for millions of dollars of not well enough, and by the GDPR regulations, controlling, securing those data, that
information.
over their databases. So the blockchain is is a huge database of transactions of whatever details. And then if you take upon that student's record, which is by far defined as personal, sensitive information for individuals, not just
very personal.
This is a GDPR risk. This is a huge GDPR risk.
Yeah, because
this is the
she's leading to
risk.
something that concerns me as well.
You take student records, and then you'll take medical
records,
as well.
and then you have a
medical
fingerprint.
data will be on the blockchain, but the fact, just because someone gets their diploma on the blockchain doesn't mean the diploma is public. It is cryptographically secured and it's hashed.
Unless it's owned by, unless it's manipulated. Unless it's administrated by a central power. I give you China. Hold on.
Right.
The blockchain in China is being used basically to mark people. I'm using a very harsh term here.
It's not blockchain. It's their general technology. It's their cameras in every corner of the street.
They have
scores of people.
But it's
they
a
hold
use.
scores.
Jag is pointing to something very, very, very. First of all, I think also your identity can be stolen if all that information is that transparent and can be manipulated. It's a lot of access.
Because I have 2 points.
Shoot.
So on the one hand, I think it's unambiguously good that governments start to reform because they're horribly inefficient and they waste so many resources. If we could, not even chip away, but completely crush bureaucracy by using technology like blockchain, that's great. There's a dark side, though. The dark side is governments could now start tracking people. Imagine if the social credit score was something that went ubiquitous blockchain, or even, I have some cypherpunk friends who are actually very anti-ID on blockchain, because as soon as you have uniquely identifiable information that kind of cues who you are and it's forever there and accessible to the world, you could potentially have problems. I also see tremendous benefits by doing it. All to say, we have to be very responsible. Use zero-knowledge cryptography, guys. Right?
Yeah.
Let's have a binary output in the circuit. Like, let's say yes, diploma existed or it didn't. Let's not give away students' grades.
That's where it's heading, and that's what it is. It's not at all.
Is it heading that way? Because there's also that's.
And by the way, the social credit in China has nothing to do with blockchain. It began tens of years ago when the Chinese government became a supreme AI programming machine, and they literally put cameras in every 50 meters in China.
But that's the thing is, to us, the social credit sounds abhorrent.
Sounds
to
like
a lot of Chinese, they think it's a great step to hold people accountable.
Tokenizing diplomas is not even close to having the social credit system.
The argument isn't juxtaposing them and kind of beating one or the other. I'm saying there is a dark side we have to be realistic about.
Absolutely, there's a dark side.
I'm only here to mention that in most of the U.S. states, just the social security number of a person is considered as sensitive information.
Absolutely.
But there are some exemptions regarding credit risks and credit ratios. But it is exempted specifically for the benefit of the society. This is exempted specifically so that you cannot tell a person's social security number or hold that database without their permission. And even many of the times they cannot even give their permission for that. It's called Cogantic law on that. However, the exemption does go for your financial information because it is for the benefit of the people being able to get better interest rates on their loans. There's a specific exemption for that. What I stress so much with that
it's not so that people get better interest rates on their loans, it's that the banks can minimize their risks when it comes to prospective
therefore they give a lower interest rate for those who deserve that and a higher interest rate for those who do not.
It's not for the people, it's for the banks. I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, the rationale,
not for the benefit
I agree, but the rationale was for the people, so that the people who award that, who are eligible for the lower, they can get. Well, the rationale was that. So it's going to be for the benefit of the people. It could be as well credited as for the benefit of the banks. I agree. I think it's a benefit for the banks, the suppliers of their loans, and the buyers of the loans, for the people as well. However, that is a specific exemption. It's not the rule. The rule says that you cannot give that information, even a social security number, which is not that sensitive. It's not your weight, your gender, your preferences, nothing that sensitive.
Right.
Or
it's
your
almost
opinions.
like the Israeli identification number that's not even that sensitive.
The Israeli ID is not a sensitive information at all. To talk about that your email address is not supposed to be such a sensitive information.
To be that sensitive.
However, I'm reviewing the Maryland law nowadays because of a class action I'm running against a Maryland U.S. firm. And reading the Maryland laws regarding that has put me in shock compared to the Israeli law on that, on how sensitive every information is, besides your financial risk, which is not. That has an exemption for that, luckily for them.
I
However,
would love to
you
team
take-
up with you on a class action against Facebook. That is my passion. It's
There's
my
so
dream.
many. Join the club.
I want to
And I
team up
wonder,
with
you know,
you
I mean,
on
Rob,
a
I
class
want to
action.
do
Join the
that.
club. I'll be happy
Yes.
to. It's what I do. It's what I do.
I don't know.
Amazing.
It's what I do.
Facebook?
Yeah. I mean, I tend to agree, but I don't think it's going to be as fast as you think.
No,
I
no,
think
I
they
don't-
use so much
and
power
it may
right
not be
now.
fast, but I think
Yeah.
the growth trajectory has
Right.
certainly peaked, in my opinion. I
Okay.
think they'll still make money, and they'll still be around. You know.
And we got one more, guys, because we have to finish on a happy, depressing note. You'll understand in a second. Here's the headline. He's tiresome, but is he wrong? And when the heck will his opinion not matter? So, Warren Buffett at it again, voicing his disdain for Bitcoin and cryptos in his latest tirade. Quite a calm one. Bit of his latest to CNBC. This is vis-a-vis Bitcoin. I'm quoting Warren Buffett. I'm not going to do the voice. It's a gambling device. There's been a lot of frauds connected with it. There's been disappearances. There's a lot lost on it. Bitcoin hasn't produced anything, says Buffett, or so he told a group of reporters ahead of Berkshire Hathaway's annual meeting in Omaha, Nebraska. It doesn't do anything, he continued. It just sits there. We're going to roll you a clip of him in a second. It's like a seashell or something, and that is not an investment to me. Not only that, Buffett even compared cryptocurrency to a button on his jacket, which he took off. I'll tear off a button right here. And what I have is a little token. I'll offer it to you for $1,000, and I'll see if I can get the price up to $2,000 by the end of the day. But the button has one use, and it's a very limited use, Buffett said. First of all, the problems of rich people.
He hasn't seen the dot-com economy as well, with all due respect. And I think the person who's richer is the person who's right. However, and he's way richer than I am. I have to
Always,
say.
yeah, indeed.
However, the respectful Mr. Buffett hasn't seen the dot-com and hasn't seen the internet thrive when it was about 20 years ago. And maybe he's not seeing the new economy coming up now with the blockchain.
We've been saying that about him for years, though. He's like once every 6 months he'll come up with...
He is an old, delusional hypocrite, and I will tell you why he's a hypocrite. Because the entire Wall Street financial industry is a gambling game, and there is numerous research to support the fact that a good poker player makes a good trader on Wall Street. The same characteristics that makes a good gambler makes a good trader on Wall Street. And the entire stock
Are you hinting that
market
Buffett may be a Jamie
is a
Dimon?
gambling game. And so he made
Pardon me.
billions of dollars off of gambling on the stock market, and now cryptocurrencies is a gambling game?
Well, he's doing value investments and enterprise
Everything
investments
is a gamble
long
in the
years.
stock market.
But he's
Everything
not
is
a day
gamble.
still.
Well,
So
with all due
I get where Buffett's going. So Buffett is famous for saying he won't invest in tech stocks because he doesn't understand tech stocks. But from my perspective, if you don't understand something, which is clear he doesn't understand Bitcoin or crypto, you probably shouldn't comment on it, right? That's kind of I think a pretty wise stance perhaps for such a wise old guy.
Though that's something
right?
that
But-
one cannot really argue in the age of social media.
Right.
But yes,
Yeah.
that should be the
But,
the
okay,
thing.
the big thing though is, so stocks, I get where he comes from. Stocks represent a claim on cash flows for firms that create real value. So stock is a representation of real value in the economy. What he's not getting is crypto assets can also be representations of real value. And this is the transition point that he just clearly does not understand. So crypto absolutely has value greater than zero. And this is something that he just hasn't come to terms with yet.
Right.
And that industry hasn't matured yet enough to have applications of it, many enough, to prove those values yet. So we're just in a cradle, in the beginning of that industry.
And why do you think it scares the old guard so much?
Because he has so much stake in it. Are you kidding me? He has billions of dollars invested in the gambling game of Wall Street, and obviously he doesn't want to see it go away.
Guys,
He loves the status quo.
I'm a reformed Buffett fan, I'll be honest.
No.
When I was younger, I mean, my PhD works in finance, right? So I
had to.
I get it. I love this stuff because I do think that finance actually can create real value for society. But then I got into Bitcoin and crypto finance because I think we'll put that on steroids.
Right.
Right? But, Buffett made a brand for himself by being humble But then I think
That
over
was
time,
not a
he's just-
humble
he's
statement.
lost his humility,
Yeah.
and I think that's a problem that we should all try to prevent, right, in ourselves. We should all reach deep and remember
That's true.
we're just
Exactly.
people, right?
No, entirely. Not only
That
that,
is a
ladies,
very
ladies.
nice lesson. I really like that. I have to be
Moment
more
of Zen,
humble.
then. Raise
Yeah.
your glasses. This was
Yeah.
40 minutes of beauty, folks.
That
Yeah,
was
very
a
much
very
enjoyed that.
nice
Way
way
to
to
go for
end
Ed Robbins.
it.
Way to go for
Again.
them.
And thank you for joining us on Blockchain and Booze. Benny had fun.
Humility.
Not
Cheers, Benny.
And this was it for us also on Blockchain and Booze, Block TV. Don't forget to check us out on all those social platforms we just mentioned, Facebook, Twitter, and Telegram. And we'll be right back.